Hey everybody, so latest article that came out on October 19th says classical music is surging in popularity among millennials and Generation Zers. That is a turnaround from what has been the trend previously. I did a video last year asking the question, is classical music dead or dying? And based on some research then, it indicated that it probably wasn't going in the right direction, but there's some new data that talks about how there's a resurgence in interest in classical music. Hi, I'm Tim Wolf. I'm a Nashville singer-songwriter artist. You can check out my music. There's a link right below in the comments. I'd appreciate it if you check it out. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I put up new videos. So, research shows huge surge in millennials and Generation Zers streaming classical music. Now, there was a study that I reported on in the video that I did last fall, where they had shown studies where 10 years prior, the average age of people going to classical concerts was 45 to 64, or I should say the biggest age demographic that was attending concerts was 45 to 64, and 10 years later, that had changed to 65 to 74. So basically, no new fans were coming in, and the fear was, or the obvious demographic trend was, that the fans are going to die off. And it's very expensive to put on a concert, to have an orchestra. It takes like 110 members, and there are financial difficulties for a lot of orchestras across the country, in the U.S. anyway, and things didn't look really good. A lot of artists had gone on strike. I've seen in the news over the last decade or so a lot of negativity and negative trends regarding classical music. And I did say in that video from last year, I said everything is cyclical and things could come back around for classical music. And it appears that it has, at least in some trend. It says that the rise of streaming services, young people are listening to more Mozart and Bach than they did 10 years ago. And during lockdown, classical music has experienced a second boom. Of the people streaming classical music, a third of them, 34%, were in the 18 to 25-year-old. So there definitely is some resurgence in interest among younger folks. So that a decade ago, data published by BMBPI showed a tenth of classical listeners were under 30, while the vast majority were over the age of 50. So just in a decade, now it's a third, 18 to 25. So things are really looking good and for classical music. And I'm happy about it because it's a great music form and it's been around for centuries, has a very well-established tradition. Classical hit a second spike when lockdown hit in March, and both modern classical artists and more traditional composers were suddenly hit among young listeners. It says that Deezer, which is a competitor of Spotify, showed that over 3 months, global plays of classical music of 18 to 25-year-olds grew by 11%. Mozart and Bach were the platform's most popular classical composers, while streams of female pianists, including Katia Buniachishvili and Martha Argerich, probably murdering those pronunciations, soared during that 3-month period. So classical composers like Mozart, and then pianists, female pianists. So according to the earlier report, more than 35% of those under 35 years old felt listening to orchestral music during lockdown helped them relax and maintain a sense of calmness and well-being. And it is very calming. Classical music does definitely evoke a mood. So the joint research shows that classical music habits are changing among young people. Young classical talent and crossover playlists like Classical Goes Pop are proving popular. And also, probably the biggest way younger generations consume classical music is in movie soundtracks. I mean, still having an orchestra play for soundtracks or trailers is still very much a thing. If marketers were marketing classical music wanted to actually get into the 21st century, they definitely need to focus more on how today's audience is and maybe loosen up the dress code. Instead of thinking you have to wear a suit and maybe even a black tie to go see orchestra, make it more casual. Perhaps, may I dare say it, even have the conductor and the people in the orchestra dress more casual. Just an idea. Classical goes pop, and I know there's some trend on this, but the more staid, well-regarded orchestras probably look down their noses at that. But just some ideas. Now, playlists that people are using to listen to music are linked to mood, like feel good, calm, and sleepy. And these playlists have done very well during the pandemic, as the young people have turned to classical music as a means of finding solace, reassurance, and relaxation in an uncertain time. So it's really exciting. Classical music is having a resurgence for especially younger people, even under 35. So it's not just maybe we'll see more of them having interest in going to seeing concerts when we get out of this lockdown eventually. Streams of the playlist Classical for Sleep spiked by 284% across all age groups during the pandemic. So top performing artists and composers of 2020 worldwide were Italian artists Einaudi and Andrea Bocelli. Bocelli, I've heard him. He's the probably greatest vocal voice in the world right now. And Game of Thrones composer Ramin Djawadi. So connected to film, connected to HBO shows, I think is another great angle for those who are marketing and thinking how to position classical music. I said that in the previous video. Albums are seeing a resurgence also as classical listeners stream more in full than fans of other genres. Interesting. Whereas maybe in pop, people are more interested in just the singles. Previous research shows that fewer people than ever across all genres are listening to whole albums, but in classical they are. So classical artists have been voicing their support for the positive findings, including Max Richter, Ray Chen, Jess Gilliam, and Alexander Desplat. Our Oscar-winning film composer says it's heartening. Desplat says it's heartening that the appeal of classical music is clearly expanding and connecting with a broader and younger audience. The ease of discovery and connectivity through streaming must be playing its part, but so is the global reach and power of film soundtracks, which I mentioned earlier, which draws such inspiration from classical competition. So there you have it. Classical music is having a rebound, and I couldn't be happier for it. I think it's a great form of music, and I would hate to see it be relegated to the dustbin of history. I also touched on jazz previously, and what I was talking about primarily was sales of CDs. Consumption of the music is what I use to measure it, and that demonstrably is quite low before, especially jazz, but now classical music is having a resurgence. I love it, absolutely love it. I hope to see more. I hope to see more engagement, more unique innovations in the field of classical music, both ways of consuming it and ways of marketing, ways that it's made available for people to enjoy it. So that's all I have. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, this is Tim Wolf. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please go to the link down below in the description. There's a bit.ly link. Listen to my music at Spotify. I appreciate it very much. It means a lot to an artist if you follow them. If you would be kind enough to like the video if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends. Finally, be sure to subscribe. And then also there are other videos on this screen that you can watch. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.